Malachi, otherwise known as the old Italian prophet Malachi, is the last of the 12 minor prophets, so called because their writings are smaller than those of the so-called major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. The book of Malachi comes at the end of the Protestant canon of the Old Testament. In Roman Catholic Bibles, it precedes the deuterocanonical books, what we call the Apocrypha. In the Jewish canon, Malachi is the last of the prophets, but the writings, the historical books which Christians place earlier in the Old Testament, are placed last in their Bible. It's a transitional book for Christians. It ends the Old Testament, and, as we'll see in coming weeks, it anticipates the New Testament. Malachi is unique in the Old Testament because of its form. It's a diatribe between God and those of his people who have become apathetic toward him. The name Malachi literally means messenger of the Lord. Some take it to be a general term for a prophet, while most tend to see it as a proper name. Other than his name and his writing, we know nothing about him. We are pretty sure that his writing is set in the 5th century before the time of Jesus. Much of what he writes lines up historically with the time of Nehemiah. That was the time after the Israelites had been defeated by Babylon under King Nebuchadnezzar and carried off into exile. Then, when Cyrus of Persia defeated the Babylonians, he gave permission for the Israelites to return to their homeland. And one of the first things they did when the Israelites got back to their homeland was to start rebuilding Jerusalem, which had been desolated by the Babylonians. Of first priority was the temple. Even today, you can still see little bits of the wall of the temple from Nehemiah's time if you go to Jerusalem, notwithstanding the fact that the city has been ravaged again and again since then. We suspect that Malachi was a contemporary of Nehemiah because of the commonalities we see in their stories. There's the perversion of the sacrificial system, the misuse of Sabbath, intermarriage with foreigners, cheapening of the tithe, and social exploitation. If you read the books of Ezra and Nehemiah in the Old Testament, you will get a chronicled history of the experience of God's people coming back from exile, and the enthusiasm with which they embraced the return to temple worship after all those years in exile. But, as so often happens, they let their fire get low, and their passion for God dwindled. Sadly, it was not just among the ordinary people of Judah, but also among the priests in the temple. And Malachi was the prophet whom God appointed to call his people back to faithfulness yet again. For the people of God, their time in exile had come to an end. Their crisis was over, and apathy had set in. I wonder what parallels we might see, what lessons we might learn, as we come near the time when our current season of crisis will come to an end, as we set our sights on the end of the pandemic.